iOS 18.2 has been out to the general public now for the past couple of days, and I've been running this update since it released. In this video, I'm going to give you my overall experience running this update. I'm going to go over some new features, talk about the battery life, battery health, and my performance. I'm also going to show the Geekbench score that I ran before this video. Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and let's talk about iOS 18.2. And my first favorite change is the new redesigned Mail app, where we have primary, transactions, updates, and promotions, and we also have all mail. Now, if you don't like this change, you can switch back to list view, which sort of brings back the old view, but me personally, I like the categories view because it just looks much more nicer. I also like that you have profile pictures next to both the emails. That is quite nice in this update. Also in iOS 18.2, we now have dark mode icons within settings. This also works if we go into light mode here. And this also works if we go into tinted. Overall, this is quite a nice update to settings. Under search, we now have default search engines. So you could switch between Google, Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo, and Ecosia, but I'm going to keep it as Google, as that's typically what I prefer. Under apps, we also now have default apps, where you have default apps for your different emails with Canary, Gmail, Mail, and Outlook, but I use Mail. We also have default calling apps for phone and FaceTime. And you also could have default apps for browsing with Arc Search, Chrome, Safari, and any browser of your choosing. We also now have a totally updated share sheet menu where all the icons are now dark. This also works if you tint your icons as well. Also in photos, there is a slight update. Within this photo, my photos are sort of floating, and that also works within video. You can see here that these photos here are floating. They're floating underneath the time bar. This works with not only widescreen, full screen photos, it also works with full screen videos. As far as anything else with this update, we now have a type to Siri control in iOS 18.2. We can pretty much type to Siri in this update. So we can pretty much type to Siri in iOS 18.2. Also in Apple Music, if you search for a song that is relaxing or a song from 1990, you will find exactly what you search for. The same can also be said if you go into Apple TV. If you want to look for a show that is relaxing or a show that is action-packed rather, you will find a show that is either action-packed or a comedy. This update now supports natural language, so whatever you search for, you will find. As far as my performance running this update, going in and out of different apps, the first time I went into podcast, I did get a splash screen, but I forgot to screenshot it. But when you go into different apps, you may or may not get some splash screens. But as far as performance, it loads up nice and fast. If we do some scrolling here, it works perfectly. If we go into the App Store, the Apple Store, loads up nice and quickly. We do some scrolling on the app library. It loads up pretty great. Now, as far as my battery health, My battery health is at 85%. And with that battery health, I've gotten 1 hour, 3 minutes screen on time, 2 minutes screen off time. Yesterday, I got 6 hours, 37 minutes screen on time, 38 minutes screen off time. As far as my Geekbench score, I scored 2,067 single core, 4,749 for multi-core. If I compare that to iOS 18.1.1, last week's follow-up, I scored 2039 single core, 4459 multi-core. As far as what to expect next from Apple, well, the next update could be iOS 18.3, Beta 1. And I would expect that probably on December 16th. We could have that maybe one beta and then nothing for the rest of this year until about the week of January 6th when we get beta 2. Then the RC, the week of the 13th, and a final release on January 20th. Hopefully we get new Unity wallpapers, as we seem to get that every year. As far as anything else with iOS 18.2, well, that's it for now. That's my follow-up on this update. Let me know down in the comments, how is your experience going running this update? Do you love the new redesigned Mail app? Or do you miss the list view that was on iOS 18.1.1? But if you do want to switch back to list view, you simply go to the 3-dot menu up in the top right corner. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think of the new Mail app? I'm Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and that's my follow-up on iOS 18.2. If you guys like this video, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.